My guest this week on Poetry from Daily Life is Virginia Lowe, who lives in Melbourne, Australia. Dr. Lowe says she has always written, from editing newsletters and maintaining a monthly blog to her favorite genre, writing poetry. Her husband, John, is a poet too. A favorite activity has been teaching at U3A, University of the Third Age, creative writing group. One unique fact about Virginia is that she studied her two children's development and responses to books from infancy to early adolescence. Her research, including 5,500 pages of notes, became part of her studies for a PhD. To simplify schedule complexities, Virginia gave me permission to read her column. Thank you, Virginia. Nursery rhymes, the first poetry. Off me, or my hearts will break, cried daughter, when presented at 3 with her new baby brother. Already she was integrating nursery rhyme words with her own language. Son used the same language at roughly the same age, begging Grandpa to read a specific rhyme. Daughter, I'm going to Jack and Jill him, of her sibling, fortunately sharing a bath. Did the deliberate overstatement imply a nascent understanding of irony? Real pretend concepts also, and beginning morals are in some rhymes. Why did he say, "What a good boy am I?" Daughter asked me of little Jack Horner, and then repeated to the baby in his high chair, "It's just nonsense, little man." Son was 11 months old. Son had shown recognition of a poster in a public mother's room in the city where I had taken him to breastfeed him at 3 months. Waving his arms at Humpty Dumpty and vocalizing to it, I immediately sang to him, "Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. And all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again." There were always 4 or 5 nursery rhyme books at home, ours or the library's. The children knew that the same words could be illustrated by different pictures. Much older, at 4.9 years, Son came running through the house and grabbed my hand, pulled me to his room. Mummy, there's something wrong." Then, when we arrived, "It's Humpty Dumpty," pointing to the cover of a library book. Dressed in the tight, fancy clothes of a Victorian gentleman was his ovoid friend, along with other familiar characters simply sketched. There is no other book where the actual words are well known, but the artist's illustrations are completely different, except for a couple of older children, for example, Alice, where the familiar Tenniel drawings have been redone by many others. He recognized several very different Humpties. Here, his exotic garb made it worthy of comment. So they learned about versions, styles, and interpretation, too. Studying children's literature, I was aware that the critics and theorists underestimated young children. The children of the few parent observers were read to from early on, though the actual published records didn't begin until about 2. I determined that I would keep a close record of mine when I had them. Their father, a librarian, was all in favor and often helped with the reading and the hours it took in the evening to record it all, especially when both children were at home during the day. Nursery rhymes are not as inevitable to child rearing as they have been for centuries, but they still have a lot to offer infants and carers. First, there is the interesting vocabulary phrases not available in other conversation. Then simple but memorable tunes and the actions that traditionally go with them. Even syntax. Son, at 3, He's like King Cole, 'cause it said was he of the familiar Robin Hood song on the radio. But it's not only the words and the tunes I want to discuss here. We expected books to be a comfort and an amusement, as they always had been to us, parents, part of our lives. For instance, in a long car trip, when I wasn't taking my turn driving, I was keeping daughter entertained by singing all the nursery rhymes I could think of. She had allowed me to sing each rhyme 3 times in a row, but any more than 3, or repeating one I'd already sung, were immediately stopped. They understood about rhyme, too, leading to our first joke from son at 2 years, 3 months. We had a book, not of actual nursery rhymes, but very simple verses. I often stopped for them to fill in the rhyming word. He would have shouted feet many times to rhyme with sweet. And as a realistic lamb is clear in the picture, but instead of at 2, he shouted wheels to everyone's surprise and delight. Don't wait. Start your baby on nursery rhymes today.